Today's guest is Matthew Chapman. Matthew Chapman, he's the founder of Mittmaster and Teacher Passion Online. And Matthew's an accomplished martial artist and former MMA fighter as well. And
Yeah.
Yep, and he's now went down in the line of coaching online and helping other martial arts coaches and other professions teach their passion and take it onto the online. So thanks for coming on to Belfast Rail, Matthew.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. It's been nice doing lots of different podcasts, and it'll be nice chatting with you today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, just to get started, probably as an introduction to people who are maybe not familiar with yourself, some people will know you as Matt from Mittmaster. For anyone who does not know what Mittmaster is, could you tell us how you created it and why you created it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been a martial arts instructor for 25 years now, and I was teaching in a full-time martial arts studio in Essex, near London. And eventually, I kind of wanted more of a challenge. I wanted to take what I was teaching and share it with more people around the world. So I created an online version of my physical school, essentially. So I was teaching sort of kickboxing, martial arts, and MMA in my school. And then I started filming content and putting the same sort of drills and lessons and things I was teaching in my school online. Called it Mittmaster because I like holding focus mitts, pads that boxers used to train, and started offering it to people around the world. And it kind of took off really organically. People started buying courses and lessons from me from all over the world, and over the last sort of 6 years, it's built up into quite a large business that now supports my family. So quite exciting, really.
Yeah, well, excellent. And I know in some of the stuff you put online, you said you always felt there was a need for people to learn how to hold pads. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen it yourself. People like personal trainers or maybe people who are not experienced in holding pads, and they're just holding them all over the place, and it's not good for the person hitting the pads, but it's also dangerous for the person holding the pads because things are not aligned properly. They're going to risk injury and get hurt. So I just wanted to create a product that could help people learn how to hold pads safely, enjoy holding pads, and then progressively get better into more complex sort of combinations and drills that maybe you could use for professional fighters. So it kind of covers the whole thing, right from an amateur, first-time person picking up a pair of pads, what do I do? All the way up to if you're training pro fighters for boxing, Muay Thai, or MMA. So it covers the whole breadth of that.
Okay. How did you get into martial arts? What attracted you into it originally?
Bruce Lee.
I think
Of our generation. It's always Bruce Lee, isn't it? I think I was a kid and I saw Enter the Dragon on TV one night, and I was just like, wow, I just need to do that stuff. It looks amazing. At that time, there wasn't any kung fu classes near me because Bruce Lee is obviously a kung fu stylist. So I just started studying different martial arts near me, studied 4 or 5 different styles during my time that I've been training. And just carried it on since I was a kid. I think, Bruce Lee inspired a whole generation of martial artists, really, who maybe hadn't seen that before. And he's probably not the best actor, obviously, but he's very charismatic, and it's amazing to watch him perform and do his stuff on film. So he inspired me and lots of other people to get into martial arts.
And you've trained with the likes of Bob Breen and Eric Paulson as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Bob's my sort of primary JKD coach, and Eric Paulson's my only MMA coach. I've been doing MMA right from the beginning when I saw UFC 1. And at that time, Bob Breen invited Eric Paulson over to London to teach a seminar. So I booked on it. I traveled on the coach because I was young and had no money then, all the way up from Plymouth all the way to sort of London, which was 5 or 6 hours by coach. Got there and then got to train with Eric Paulson. Now, Eric Paulson at that time was one of the few people in the world who could integrate lots of different martial arts and make them flow and work together. So he could strike, he could wrestle, he could do groundwork, he could grapple, he could do everything. And I'd never seen that before. I've always seen really good kickboxers or maybe really good boxers and really good judo people, for example, but not someone who could put it all together in one amazing package. So I went to that seminar. I was like, wow, I've got to train with this guy. So then I flew out to LA a couple of times to do private for a couple of weeks to do private lessons with him and learn his system of MMA. And it was very, very cool. Good times.
And I know you competed in MMA and you won a title belt. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the day, this was a long time ago. This was back when it used to be style versus style.
Right.
So no one was really training the blend of MMA apart from me and a few other people who were training with Greg Paulson and a few other people around the country. But what it back then was we'd have a jiu-jitsu guy versus a karate guy and a kickboxer versus a Muay Thai guy and a Muay Thai guy versus a Kung Fu guy. It was still like the early days of the UFC where it was style versus style. So I went in and wanted to test myself because at that point I'd been training about 10 years in martial arts, but hadn't done any real competition and just wanted to see, how good my striking was, how good my grappling was, and just test it out. So yeah, I fought against all sorts of people like Thai boxers, and I fought against like a boxing guy, and I fought against a couple of jiu-jitsu guys, and yeah, I did okay. I won a title, British MMA title back then. That was a long time ago. But the thing I noticed about fighting was I didn't really enjoy fighting. I enjoyed the training, which is weird because the training for a fight is really hard. But when I'd have a fight and I'd win the fight, there was no emotional reaction to it. Like I was just like, cool, I've won. And that was it. Like there was no like elation, no excitement, no wow, like any of that. So then I kind of realized after I won that title belt that in order for me to take it to the next level would require, a lot more training, a lot more focus, a lot more discipline. And I wasn't getting any sort of emotional reward from it. There was no money competing in MMA. I think for my title, I made £200 from the promoter, a bit more on ticket sales, but there's no money. You can't survive on that type of money. So I just thought, is this really what I want to do? I'm not really enjoying it per se. I'm not getting paid for it. And so I decided no. So I stopped fighting at that point and then focused on teaching after that.
And I know that goes into the next question. You went on to teach, and pretty much for a lot of people, going into teaching or setting up your own club or even a full-time gym is like called living the dream. You were doing that, and then you decided to change course. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, it is living the dream. In reality, I think a lot of martial arts instructors really do want to have their own full-time studio, dojang, that they can train in, teach in, spend time in, get guest instructors coming in. And it was very, very, very rewarding for the first 15 years. But because of my personality type, which is I'm kind of quite a control freak. I'm trying to get it under control now and be less of a control freak. But I was basically kind of running and managing the school and dealing with the problems and teaching classes and doing privates and doing everything else all by myself, essentially. I had partners and I had people I was working with, but I was taking on most of the workload myself because that's who I am and that's how I like to do it. The end result is after 15 years of kind of shouldering all of this, I burnt out. So I just kind of stopped enjoying running the full-time center, stopped enjoying teaching, kind of didn't really want to do so many private lessons, got stressed out and worked up with all the problems that you have with running a school. Running a school is basically fighting fires every day. Like staff members are ill. Staff members don't want to work with other staff members. Staff members have sex with other staff members. Parents complain about this, that, and the other. People who you've invested time and energy in quit and leave. People leave and take students with them. Instructors leave and take students with them. Like, the mats need changing, punch bags get broken, equipment needs to be ordered. It's like a series of problems, and I just got to the point where I just had enough. Really, what I should have done is delegated more and been a better manager of the business and taken some of the pressure off me. But instead, I threw all my toys out my pram and just went, right, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm out. luckily at that point I had a online business that I'd built up over the last sort of 4 or 5 years that was bringing in as much money as I'd made from my school. So I could literally just jump and just go purely online. I wouldn't recommend doing that for people, by the way. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Worked out for me. But for most instructors, I recommend them having the physical school, but also having an online school and working them together, because that's really, really smart thing to do. But I wasn't being smart, I was being a brat. So I just one day quit my school, sold it to my business partner, and then got into online.
I think a lot of people do have like a romanticized view of if you don't mind me saying, like stories like yourself. Maybe they're in a really depressing job, 9 to 5, the manager's on their back, and they read inspirational stories like yourself, and they go, if I quit this job, I'll go and create like a business as such. But you need to have some groundwork built into it beforehand.
Yeah. You also just need skills that maybe you don't have. Like I lack certain skills that I needed, like management skills and working with people and managing and people and dealing with expectations. And I didn't have those skills. So eventually, I had to exit that business. But if you're moving from a job to running a full-time centre, it's a whole different skill set. It's like you have to know essentially everything about running a business, which is where a lot of people struggle. So there's a big difference between going to a job where you're told what to do every day and you have like objectives and goals and targets and you hit those and you get rewarded, to running a place yourself where you're wholly responsible for whether it succeeds or fails. And I think a lot of people struggle with that transition. I've always been kind of quite entrepreneurial, and I only ever worked by myself or with small groups of other people. So I've never had a job where I have a boss or something. I've always just done what I've wanted to do. So being entrepreneurial isn't a problem for me. I'll learn the skills I need to do. I'll make it work. I'll hustle. I'll do whatever is required. But coming from a job into that sort of where it's all your responsibility, it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people. It is the dream, and you can learn everything you need to do to move from a job into running a full-time business, but don't think it's the same as running a job. That's a major mistake. If you want to make it successful, you need to learn a whole load of skills about marketing, about admin, about management, about everything else that you need to know in order to make that business work. And I think that's where people kind of struggle a bit.
Yeah. And kind of one of the questions I want to ask, when you decide to change direction, how do you handle that wee voice in your head that we all have a cast doubt on what you want to do? It's kind of saying, look, Jim's a safe bet, stay the course. How do you deal with that?
Well, I didn't make a jump, so it wasn't like I went from one day running the school straight into online. I started building up the online business sort of 3-4 years before I transitioned. So I don't think it's smart to take unnecessary risks. Like one day just quitting your job and then trying to set up a business the next day doesn't make sense to me. Too risky, right? So the plan is to start your what they call a side hustle, which is the thing you can do on the side, and build that up over a period of weeks, months, years, to the point where you could get to the point where it's bringing in enough income that you could quit your job. So that's a much safer way of doing it, and that's what I did. I probably went about a year or two earlier than I should have, but I was stressed out and not handling it very well, so I just had a tantrum and left. But I think the smarter thing is to build up the side hustle, the side business, grow it. And when do you grow it? So people often say to me, like, well, when do you have time to do this? And I was like, well, I used to get up kind of around 9, a bit earlier, 8, 9, go down to the gym, teach a few private lessons, have lunch, teach a few more private lessons, start kids classes at 4, teach all the way through lessons or private lessons to about 9 o'clock at night, clean up at 10 o'clock, get home, and I would work then. So I'd work from 10 until 2 o'clock in the morning just on my side business. So that, you do what you have to do. If you want something to be a success, you have to put in the time when it's required. You could get up out of bed 1 hour earlier and do the work then. You can work for your lunch break, and you can do a little bit in the evening. I'm not a very good morning person, so I decided to just do it all at night because I'm a night person. So yeah, 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock for about 3-4 years of working on the business. It eventually started, well, no, it started making enough income so that I could replace my job, if you call it my job at that point. So it's doable. It just requires a bit of discipline, a bit of passion, a bit of focus, and the desire to make it happen.
And the first year of Mittmaster, I think I remember you saying this in one of your courses. The first year, it took 1 year, is it right, to get one sale at the start?
Yeah,
That,
that's awful, isn't it? I really shouldn't tell people that because I train people on this stuff now.
well,
Yeah,
it was a really good story.
well, yeah, I created a DVD, and it was all about pads. And I was like, this is going to sell. People are going to love my pad drawers. Hey! So I put it up on the internet, and nothing happens. Like first day, I'm like, well, give it some time. First week, nothing. First couple of weeks, I'm like, what's going on? First month, nothing. In the end, it took me a year to make one sale for £7.99. Now that is crazy. Like, no one has the discipline and the perseverance to stick with a business that's made them nothing for a whole year. But for some reason, I could see like the potential in it, and I could see that it could go places. So I just kept plugging away. I put up adverts that didn't work. I would post in social media groups that didn't get much response. I'd send out emails. I would even put adverts in Martial Arts Illustrated magazine back when it was full magazine. So I had a full page ad, didn't sell anything. So it was working well. But eventually, like literally almost 365 days after I started, I sold one copy of my DVD to someone far away, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. Because the mindset shift was, if someone wants it, there's other people who want it. It's just like, that was it. Once I had proof that one person wanted it, I knew there'd be others. So then I just worked even harder at it. And over the period of the next couple of years, it started to build up and take off. And now supports my whole life and my family's life. It's very, very cool. But yeah, a year to get a first sale, I think it's got to be a record for worst marketing ever.
From that first sale to where you are now, how long was that period? Has that been 5 years or?
Yeah, 5 to 6 years, I'd say. Yeah, so it's been a while. The problem I had was I didn't really understand marketing. So this was like a skill set that I kind of had for the physical school, like how to market classes. And back then there wasn't much in, social media. So it was flyers, demos, the old school marketing thing, going to talk to people, school talks, that sort of things. And so then when I transitioned to the online business, I didn't really understand online marketing. So I just thought if I slapped up a website, Google would just send me loads of traffic and I'd be a millionaire. And it didn't work. Funny that. So that happens with martial arts schools as well, though. Like some people think if I open a fantastic martial art facility with the best instructors and the best equipment and the biggest amount of space and all the kit and the bags and everything, that'll be it. People will come and join, and they don't. So it can happen in any type of business. You just need to understand that marketing is the most important thing you will do when you're starting your business. And then once your business is at the point you want it, retention is the most important thing that you need to do, but still some marketing. So I learned how to market. All these books behind me, I read all these many times on marketing and how to build a business. I spent thousands of pounds going to courses, seminars, workshops, and private coaching, learning this stuff. And that's, once you understand it, apply it, it works.
So I've seen that myself. I've seen, without mentioning names or anything, I've seen like really, really good martial artists, really guys you'd want to train with, struggle to get people in through the doors. And I've seen people who are kind of on the borderline of what people would call like a dojo, and their marketing is a lot better, a lot more slicker, and they're getting ton of people through the door. Better they're keeping them.
And the thing that annoys me about that is all the more traditional guys who maybe have a better martial art pedigree then go, oh, well, they're rubbish. Why are people going there? They're going there because your marketing is rubbish. Improve your marketing. And then they'll come to you and realize that your quality of tuition is far superior anyway. So it's not, you have to get good at marketing. If you run a business, one of the first skills you need to understand other than people management is how do you market your services? How do you sell your product and get it out to the right people? Targeted marketing to the right people. And that applies to physical martial arts schools, that applies to online products, that applies to literally anything. But a lot of martial arts instructors are kind of reluctant to learn how to market. I think in the UK, people don't like sales and they don't like salesmen, and understandably why. We've all tried to buy a car at a showroom and been like, hey, so how you guys doing? And all of this, and you're like, just leave me alone, mate. I'm just looking at cars. So we've all had that, but I think you still need to learn the skills. You don't have to apply them in a sleazy way. You know, you can apply them ethically and with, you know, just correctly and still have a good effect. You don't have to be a sleazy salesman. So you have to learn the marketing skills, which can be as simple as just reading books about marketing, you know, or going on YouTube and watching videos on the principles of marketing. You know, you don't have to spend lots of money learning this stuff, but it's worth getting educated on it because it makes a massive difference to how successful your business will be.
And I know you probably, I'm probably asking this question would be silly because you kind of answered it, but what made Mittmaster success? I take it just marketing.
Self-belief. I mean, I believed that what I was creating had value. So I think that's part of also another problem with martial arts instructors, or just people in general, that they don't value themselves enough. Like they don't see that the 20, 30, 40 years they've been doing martial arts, yoga, guitar, rock climbing, or whatever, has tremendous value to someone who's maybe just started or even a few years behind them, but they don't see it. Other people can see it in them and they say, you're such an amazing teacher, but they're like, yeah, but I'm not as good as. So they compare themselves to people higher than them. They discount their own abilities, and that's a bit of a shame because they could help more people. I've always kind of had quite good self-belief. I was appreciated what I was good at and wanted to share that with as many people as possible. So definitely self-belief that, you know, you have value to offer others and they will appreciate it. And then marketing, lots of marketing, as in understanding your target market and getting in their head so that you can speak their language and explain how your product can help them, how it can benefit them, and how you're going to take it forward. And once you kind of really understand your target market and you put enough content out there and you help enough people, yeah, you'll fly. But yeah, just believing in yourself and then marketing hard. Most people don't market enough. You know, they'll do one Facebook post a week and that's their marketing done. I'm like, no. I teach a lot of people how to set up online businesses and how to set up online courses. And they say, well, how much should I post on Facebook? I'm like, I would reckon 10 times a day. And they're like, wow, what, 10 times a day? And I'm like, yeah, across your different pages, groups and channels and profiles. Yeah, 10 times a day. They're like, well, I can't do that. And I'm like, okay, well, start with 5 times a day then. So you have to be like willing to work at it, I think, and work hard.
And if one question we ask, was just going to ask yourself, but what advice would you give if someone is struggling to kind of overcome that kind of limiting belief that, oh, nobody will want to watch me or nobody will want to kind of see what I have to offer? What would you say?
Yeah, that is so difficult. I mean, it's such a thing to overcome. I think if you're already teaching people, you need to understand that you're already helping people. So there's no problem with helping more people, which you can do online, obviously. If you consider a total novice who's never done any martial arts, and then you consider at the other end some elite martial artist, maybe like Dan Inosanto, who's done 50 martial arts to the highest level, I put myself somewhere down here at the beginning, but that's still, you know, I can still help the 10 million people who are underneath me. So I never really compare myself up. And I've also noticed that people who are above me in terms of skill never belittle me or look down on me and say, what are you doing? They're always really encouraging. They're always like, you know, I like your pad drills. I really, you know, the other day I was speaking to an instructor in America who mentioned that Benny the Jet, who is considered one of the greatest kickboxers of all time, had watched one of my videos and used one of my pad drills in his class. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I think the higher level guys are doing what they're doing, and they're usually willing to help bring you up. Yeah. So don't worry about comparing yourself to them. Just try and help the people who are not as experienced as you, or have not have learned as much as you, have not been doing it as long as you. And the fact is, there's millions of them.
Yeah.
There's millions and millions of people who could benefit from what you're trying to teach them. So help them out and start. You don't have to put yourself out there as the world's greatest expert on XYZ, but you could say, I've been training or working on this for 20 years. I've learned certain things that could help you. Here it is. You don't have to make yourself out to be like the all-knowing, all-seeing. I think the old days of the martial arts instructor being the wise old master on the mountain are long gone. Now it's just human beings. We're just people who have just traveled a bit further down the path than you have, and can help you avoid some pitfalls on the journey, give you some tips, give you some help. You don't have to be perfect, basically. You just have to start. So I think that's important.
And obviously, under the current crazy times we're living in with the whole pandemic, lockdown, etc., if someone's either running a physical business right now and it's obviously maybe shut down due to what's happening, what advice would you give them if they're considering, maybe they're seeing everybody else going online, they're seeing maybe like your advertisements? What advice would you give for them to make that leap from a physical business to an online business? And maybe their physical business is gone now, maybe it won't recover. How would they get started to take that onto online presence?
Yeah, ideally they don't want to make a jump. So they don't want to jump from where they are now onto an online thing in the hope that it will kind of save them. That's probably not going to work. It's going to put too much pressure on them. So I'm a big fan of multiple streams of income. So, if the business side of things that they're working isn't working so well, they might need to get a job in the short term, and related or somewhere else, or something, because you need to pay your bills. And then it's all about using the time you have spare to start building up online stuff as well. And as far as online stuff goes, just get started. Online is basically three things. You need to have something to sell, you need to have somewhere to sell it from, and you need someone to sell it to. So something to sell, if you're talking information products, could be like an online course, a download, an ebook, or something like that. That's your experience, put in a little package, and then you can sell it on the internet, which is very nice. Somewhere to sell it from can be as simple as selling straight from your Facebook page or profile. I used to sell DVDs straight from my profile. Like, do you want to check out this DVD? Do you want to buy this DVD? And in my Facebook profile, and people would buy via a link in my Facebook profile. So you don't necessarily need an all-seeing, all-dancing website or anything like that to start with. You can literally sell direct from your profile. And then probably the key is someone to sell it to. Because although you can have something to sell and somewhere to sell it from, if you don't have someone who wants to buy your stuff, you're never going to make any sales. So that's about building an audience of people who are interested in what you're doing. And you do that through social media. So having a Facebook page, a Facebook group would be a good idea. Having an Instagram account, having a YouTube channel, because all these places are where people hang out who you can find who are interested in what you do. So just figuring out like what it is you're going to sell and how to create it, where you're going to sell it from. Do you need to have a website necessarily? Not necessarily. And who you're going to sell it to. That's the most important point. If you can find a group of people who appreciate what you have and want to learn from you, then you'll make sales all day. But yeah, it's best to transition into that. Never take a leap, because a leap makes everything too stressful for you.
I know people who work as courier drivers, and they're literally saying this is like this time period, it's like Christmas on steroids. I know there's a lot of business online at the moment. Do you think we're at a turning point where this will be like a tipping point where pretty much a majority of businesses and services will go online as a result of this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, anything that cannot be online is going to struggle, isn't it? Because what's going to happen with pandemics, I think, in the future is we're going to have more lockdowns. So whether it's a mutation of a virus or a new virus or something more, things are going to go into lockdown and lockdown. And if you don't have some sort of way of bringing in an income without having to actually, physically be in a place or physically operate a space, you're going to struggle. So how can you take either what you know or what you create and turn it into an online product? And then with online, the really cool thing about online is it takes away all geography, meaning that you don't have to be in a physical place to make money. I can be in Italy, I can be in Japan, I can be anywhere, create courses and sell them. So I can be anywhere in the world. It takes away all time. So, if you run a physical business, when you're asleep, you're not making money. But because it's an online business, it's running 24/7, 365. And you can find customers anywhere in the world. So if you run a physical school, martial arts school, or a shop, or something that is in a particular space, what happens if that area goes into lockdown and, you're not allowed to work in it? What happens if, there's a fire in your building and you lose all your stock? What happens if, you can't access it, or for whatever reason? If you can take what you do and put it online. Now, things like physical shops are quite easy to put online. You just use Shopify and then sell the same products you're selling from your physical store online. So I think you've got to be smart and you've got to work out a way to do what you're doing in physical space and just turn it some way into an online product. And there's lots of ways of working out how to do that. But with martial arts schools, easy peasy. You're teaching, just film your classes and then turn those into online products. And same with yoga teachers, same with, Pilates teachers, same with personal trainers probably, same with certain gym classes, same with dance teachers, same with rock climbing teachers, same with musicians, same with if you're teaching, you can turn that into an online product.
And you mentioned martial arts, and obviously, just using it as an example for anyone watching, this ties in with what you said, all the other arts there. Do you think this will be, especially with the martial arts side, the future of the industry, where you'll see a lot more coaches coming on? Because I know, like Greg Nelson has his own university. The Gracie brothers have theirs. Hodger Gracie, I think, is another one, has an online teaching platform.
Yeah, it's only going to get bigger and bigger, isn't it? And why a lot of people don't step up is they feel like, oh, well, the Gracies have got, and Hodger Gracie, who is one of the world-class competitors, 10 times world champion, what on earth could I possibly offer that Hodger Gracie can't offer? So that puts a lot of people off. What they need to understand is some people will want to learn from you because you have a unique way of explaining and expressing and teaching and coming across, and communication style and passion and enthusiasm and journey that Hodger doesn't have, and vice versa, right? So some people will just respond to you more than they will respond to Hodger. So, he might have 1 million people on his platform. He hasn't, but, he could do. But you might be able to find 10,000 people around the world who just love how you communicate what you're doing. I was speaking to another American instructor a few weeks ago, and he said, I've tried to study kickboxing with other instructors, but the way you explain stuff just seems to work with me, and I just get it immediately, which I didn't get from training with 5 different other instructors. So it's about carving out your own little market that responds to you and your voice and your way of teaching, not about competing with Hodge or competing with the Gracie brothers. Just find your little bit that you're passionate about, you're enthusiastic about, and teach the people who respond to you. So yeah, I totally understand that. I think it's going to get more and more. And you look at jiu-jitsu online, for example, there's thousands of products and courses and membership sites for jiu-jitsu online, and there's still more being created, and people are still making money because in jiu-jitsu we understand that each person has their own kind of unique style. What Marcelo Garcia is going to teach you is different than what Eddie Bravo is going to teach you, and they have their own communication style and their own way of doing things. So they get that, and they don't really think they're in competition with each other. Plus, people will buy multiple courses from different instructors because they enjoy their teaching style. So I think it's going to become more and more. I think other martial arts are going to catch up with jiu-jitsu. Kickboxing is going to become more online. Kung Fu is going to become more online. And yeah, eventually you're going to get a few people who are going to lead a particular industry, but there's still room for everyone else to carve out a very, very decent living and help more people than they could do in their schools.
And I know, we'll go back to yourself. We talked about you created Mittmaster, and then I know you went into teacher passing online. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and how did that come about? Was that just a natural progression from the Mittmaster series?
Not really. I started Mittmaster. It started to do well, and then other martial arts instructors were like, "Oh, hello, what are you up to?" So they started asking me questions about what I was doing, what I was creating, and then I started teaching a few of them, and it got to the point where I was like, I I I was running workshops and seminars to help people set up their online businesses, and I couldn't continue to do it because I was getting too busy, too many people booked in, and I was like, well, okay. So what I did is I created an online course version of my seminars where I teach people to set up online courses, and then that just seemed to take off because obviously if you are in Canada, you're not going to fly all the way over to the UK to sit down with me for a day and I teach you how to do it, but you'll definitely watch an online course. So it's just like practicing what I preach. Just create what you have that is unique and yours, package it into an online product, which could be videos, PDFs, downloads, audio, ebook, whatever, and then you can sell it wherever. And during the pandemic, I've sold hundreds of copies of this online course because martial arts instructors and other people who teach need a simple way of learning how to do it, and this course just helps them do it. So it's been really, really good. I just like helping people basically, and it's good to help as many people as possible, in my opinion. Why would I limit myself to only helping people in my local town? I live in a really small town. There's only like 20,000 people. And not many of those are interested in martial arts and online marketing. So why would I limit myself? I want to help as many people as I can around the world. So that's what I do. I have people buy courses from like 130 odd countries in the world. That's great. It's good for me and it's good for them. So yeah, I just wanted to help as many people as possible, and it made sense to create online resources that could do that.
And I know you have a family and you run a very successful business. One of the big questions I always like to ask people is, how do you time manage? How do you balance the demands of the business, obviously your own time for your own training, and then your family, etc.? And is there something that you do now with your time management you wish you knew maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I was running a martial arts school, I wouldn't watch any TV. So for about 5 years, I didn't watch any TV. I'd watch movies, but I wouldn't watch general TV. I generally didn't go out and do a lot of stuff like going to the pub or going out for long periods of time. I was kind of really focused and really disciplined, and had to obviously run the school, but also had to spend time with the family. I had a young family, had a couple of babies back then. So obviously I had to spend quite a bit of time at home helping support the missus. So I just basically didn't use my spare time on anything I considered like a waste of time. So I wouldn't waste time by watching back-to-back series of Lost or anything. I would work. So if you don't have a lot of spare time, you have to use what you have and use it appropriately. So dead time I like to use a lot, meaning if I'm traveling on a train, for example, I can do a bit of work because I've got my hands free. I can do some social media, I can do some reading, I can learn, I can listen to a podcast. If I'm waiting maybe for a dental appointment, I can do some work. So I'm just taking all these little 10, 20, 30, 40-minute sections throughout the day, which are usually wasted by scrolling through Facebook, just consuming content. I use it to create content. So rather than consume content, focus on creating content. That's a big one. Now that I have an online business, I've got so much free time. People say to me, and you said to me earlier on, I know you're a busy man. I'm like, nah, not really. Because the thing about the online is you create a product once and then you sell it forever to lots of different people. So once you create the products and you've got your marketing sorted, it's quite hands off. You can there's long periods of the day where I just don't have anything to do. Now, because I like to work and learn, I might read, or I might do something. I might do a podcast and try and help people. But I could literally, if you know Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Yes.
I think 4 hours is a bit low, but I could run my business on 10 hours a week total and still bring in the same money. Just because of the way online works. Once you've got a good system, once you've got good software, once you've got good automation, once you've got good products, and your marketing is on point and speaks to your end customer, and they buy off your Facebook ads or your Instagram ads, doesn't require much management. You just keep an eye on it. So time management now is not, I don't have time management problems now because I have too much time.
Yeah.
Which is good. It means I get to train. I train every day, which is nice. I get to read every day, which I think is good for my brain. Spend time with the family, come up for new ideas for products, do podcasts, help other instructors. But yeah, so much more time. It's just running a martial arts school. You don't realize what a sink of time it is, because obviously you're working from 4 o'clock until probably 9, half 9, 10 classes. And then all the time before that's maybe private lessons or organizing stuff, admin, marketing, dealing with problems, insurance, all the stuff that you have to do in the background. And then every weekend, you've probably got a seminar on, or workshop, or grading, or traveling to a competition. And so many martial arts instructors have got divorced because, their true passion is martial arts. And they just, it's all they do, right? And obviously it doesn't work with family life. You can't it just doesn't work. So the switch has just freed up so much time, and it's so much less stressful running an online business. With a physical business, you've got so many people you have to deal with, and people create problems. They're wonderful and all that, but people just also create endless problems for you, new challenges. Online, there's no problems. Like the software works 99.9% of the time. And then when there is a problem, it's usually because someone's lost a link to something. So they say, I've lost my link. And I go, here's another link. Thanks. And they go, cheers. And then you can go and eat cake. I mean, it's awesome. It's so much better. So, I'm a big fan of it. I don't advise instructors just to do online, though. I think it's too risky unless you really, really know what you're doing. Always best to, but what you could do is you could obviously have your physical school, and that could be a physical yoga studio, that could be a physical Tai Chi studio, that could be a physical personal training studio. Have your online courses, and then use some of the money that you make from online training courses, programs, etc., to pay for a gym manager. And then you just don't have to deal with all the headaches of running a gym. You pay someone 20, 25 grand a year, 30 grand, depending on where you are, to manage the gym for you and report back to you. Yeah. And then that frees up so much time for you. So I would, on reflection, if I could flash back to where I was sort of 7 years ago, I'd probably do that. Take some of the money I made from Mittmaster, pay for a gym manager to run that business, drop in and out of the business, teach classes I want to teach, deal with the people I want to deal with, avoid all the problems, and still take a salary from that business as well. So that's what I'd advise you guys to do.
So delegation then?
Yeah, but paid delegation, because what most martial artists do is they do unpaid delegation. So they just go to a senior, can you take this class for me? Or can you do the books? Or can you do, and that generally doesn't work, because someone who's not being paid is not really responsible to you. And you can't really give them a bollocking if you need, like if they've stepped out the line, you can't tell them off because you are not really paying them. So I think it makes, with a paid job, there's responsibilities, things that need to be done. There's very clear communication. There's and there's no, like if I asked an instructor maybe to deliver 500 flyers for me and they didn't, if it's unpaid, what can I do? I can I can go, well, I really want you to deliver the flyers for me today. Why haven't you done it? But if they've been paid to do that, different matter, isn't it? So yeah, pay people to do the stuff you need done. But martial artists are cheap. We all know it. They don't want to
That's true.
spend any money. They're like, why would I spend money on marketing or help or anything when I can keep it all myself? And that's a false, what they call a false economy. Because by having to do everything yourself, you don't have time to grow your business. So it never really gets anywhere. You just get stuck at 50 or 100 members or wherever you think is stuck. And you can't take it any further because you're delivering the flyers and you're running about and you're doing your own accounts and you're teaching all the classes and you're dealing with all the admin and you'll never grow first of all, you don't have a business, you have a job. It is your own job, but you do have a job, you don't have a business. Because like a definition of a business is something that you can leave in someone else's hands and it still runs.
Going into, again, well, I mentioned like so Bob Breen and Eric Paulson. Who would be some of your biggest influencers and that you can name or that you've
online or from martial arts?
From any, even from the world of business to martial arts.
Martial arts, my biggest influences are my instructors. So my first instructor was a guy called Dusty Miller. He was a ninja. I did ninjutsu for about 10 years. Then I went and started studying kickboxing and Kali with Anton St. James, who's a great Filipino martial artist. Trained with him. Well, I still train with him. Then I went to London to train with Bob Breen because he was like the pioneer in JKD in Europe. So I just went there to train with him. Did that for 5-6 years, and I still train with him because he lives fairly close to me. Went to LA to train with Eric Paulson because he was the first guy who could do MMA at a very high level that I ever saw, and that was awesome. He's such a great coach and a great person as well. And then also I'd say Phil Norman, who is a pioneer in terms of martial arts that he's specialized in. His Ghost elusive combat system has been an inspiration for a lot of stuff that I do. So those 5 gents have been like the main inspiration in my life. And the really cool thing about all those guys is that they are just nice people. They give a lot. They don't take a lot. They also don't try and control their students in terms of, I have studied with martial arts instructors who are very controlling, as in, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to train elsewhere, you're not allowed to speak to these people, you're not allowed to, and that doesn't sit well with me. I'm an individual, I have to do my own thing. So I luckily found the right instructors who just said, yeah, sure, Matt, if you want to go and train this there, off you go, and come back and let me know how you got on. And they've all been like that. They've all been open-minded and not tried to control me. And hence, I've been thankful for them for the last 30 years. And all their techniques have contributed to what's inside the Mittmaster system. I often say, like, Mittmaster is probably 80% what they've taught me and 20% what I've come up with myself. So I've got to thank them for teaching me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you made there. I think if you're just kind of like just with blinkers on, you're focused on one kind of system or method of doing things, you're limiting your growth, your ability. And by having coaches like that there, I know my own personal journey, if I've had coaches doing the same thing, being quite open and encourage you to learn from other people, it broadens your vision. Then you're more inclined to try some new stuff or do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it takes a time to find the style of the system or the instructor that really truly brings out your potential. So it might not be your first instructor, and if you've stayed loyal to them for 20-30 years, you might not have reached your true potential. So I do believe in like going to different places, and it's only because martial arts is weird and full of weird people that we consider that there's some sort of weird loyalty thing, which I totally get if you come from the Far East and that was the culture that you're raised in, like reverence for the master and loyalty to the system, the style of the master. But we're from the West. I was born in the UK, and that's not. We're more about open learning and learning from different sources and critical thinking and finding out a path that works for you. So yeah, I think really nowadays, I think most martial artists are the same. They're willing to learn from lots of different sources, but you notice I quoted those 5 instructors because those were the 5 instructors that had the biggest influence on me, even though I've studied with hundreds of other instructors for short periods of time. Those guys were the ones that made the biggest difference. And also, when you look at any system, especially martial arts, there's a law of diminishing returns. Meaning, when you start as a white belt, you learn an immense amount of information. Like, it just goes up like this, because you're learning every single session for the first 3, 4, 5 years, I would say. Like, you just learn, apply, drill, spar, not work. Like, but then after 5, 7, 10 years, it starts to taper off and get less. You're still learning, but you have to work a lot harder for the lessons, because it's like really in-depth detail sort of stuff. And then past 10 years, I would say you've learned not all of it, but most of what you need, maybe 70%. So what do you do then? You have kind of a couple of options. Do you go really in depth, like an inch wide and a mile deep, and go really, and some people do that, like Hickson Gracie, right? He's just done jiu-jitsu his whole life, and he is the master of jiu-jitsu and world-class martial arts. Or your other alternative is to start exploring different avenues and different martial arts. Now, the advantage of that is, once again, if you suddenly go from jiu-jitsu into capoeira, your learning curve is going to go like that again, because you're moving in a totally different way. It's totally alien. So what I've always tried to do is, it's not a hard and fast rule, but every 5 years I try and start a new form of martial arts. And what that does is it forces me to learn. It forces me to go back to the beginning, forces me to be a white belt, forces me to get my ass kicked, forces me to struggle, be challenged again. So every 5 years, roughly, sometimes longer, I've started a new system, which has been challenging, but fun.
And you could apply that principle to anyone, like what we just talked about marketing, about creating online things. It might be daunting at first, but by going step by step, by reading some of the books you have up on the bookshelf there, and putting what you learn in the action, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the same stuff. I find martial arts and learning the same thing, so I don't have a problem learning other stuff that challenges me, like marketing and stuff, because I just see it as it's growth. So it's the same thing. Doesn't make any difference. But I know a lot of people struggle with, especially martial artists, because once again we're weird. It's like just martial arts. Like I'll only learn martial arts, and then, do you want to learn anything about accounting? No, I can't do numbers. Okay. Do you want to learn anything about marketing? No, I don't understand sales and marketing. It's all junk. Do you want to learn anything about, we're so bloody rigid in the way we think about stuff, and it's a problem. So I find learning fun and challenging. I like to be challenged. I like to be challenged physically by studying new martial arts and feeling like an idiot again. For me, there's nothing better than going to a brand new system that I know nothing about and having to work out how to move my body and look like a total klutzy beginner again. But I've been training martial arts for 35 years. I think that's awesome. Same goes with learning. I like opening a book and going, oh, this is just too much. But then I read a page, I get a little bit, read a bit more, get a little bit more, watch a YouTube video, do a bit of research. I kind of get that now. So I just like learning. I think if you like learning, you'll pick up anything you want to, because you enjoy the process.
Go in, that kind of goes into my next question. What would be one of the biggest lessons you've learned in your life so far? What would stand out, or is there maybe one or two lessons that kind of stick out?
Ooh, probably loads if I really, really, really carefully thought about it. But I think self-belief, belief in yourself is, I don't think you're going to do anything if you don't believe in yourself. And I speak to a lot of people who don't believe in themselves, and everything's a battle for them because they just cannot believe that they're worthy of whatever they want to achieve. So it's like an internal struggle, and every day is hard because they just don't believe that they are valuable, or they have, they can contribute, or that they will grow into the person they need to be. So if you have self-belief, I think you can achieve anything, because you can, right? Someone who believes themselves goes, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'll figure it out. And then they take action. Someone who doesn't believe in themselves goes, I don't know how to do this and I'm useless at this, so I'm not going to do anything. So yeah, self-belief. And I don't know if that's inborn or learnt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're born with massive self-confidence. It might be that we are born with a certain level of self-belief, and then parents and life and other people kind of take it away from us until we don't believe in ourselves. Or it might be that we're born with self-belief, and then parents and life and stuff helps us foster it and grow it into something that could be, that works for us as an adult. But I think it's a massive struggle. Like, I speak to people, like I might say to someone who's maybe an elite level martial arts, you should create an online course about that because people would love that. I'd buy that. And they're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly do that. There's no way I could work out how to set up an online course. I'm not that good with tech. I'm not that smart. I'll just stick to what I'm doing. And I'm like, that would like,
Yeah.
belief, like, you can learn anything. If one person has learned something, then you can learn it. It's that it might take you longer. It might be more, might be more obstacles, but you can learn. So yeah, just believing in yourself is the key to anything, I would say. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to put in the time, the effort, the energy, the passion, the focus. You're just not going to do it.
I think that's very true, because I think um, there's people you meet, as you say, that you kind of go, well, you've got so much talent or so much ability, and they kind of, no, so and so over there is better than me, and the guy over here is better than me. And I think it can be, yeah, it can be very hard to kind of build up. So it can. You can go, right, let's just do this, and lay them cards on the table and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't really understand it, because you can, for example, with an online business or a side hustle or something, you can set it up in secret, don't tell anyone, and see how it goes. And then no one needs to know if you're succeeded or failed at it. You can kind of start the stuff. You could sit down and learn how to build a basic website. You could read a book on how to market online courses. You could message me and I'll give you some help. You could do that, a few hours a day, a few hours a week for like 6 months and see how it goes. And if it doesn't go anywhere and you don't enjoy it and it's not working for you, you could just drop it and no one would be the wiser. So you don't have to publicly like put stuff out there if you're not ready. Just start with something small and build up your confidence. It's baby steps, isn't it? It's like you wouldn't put someone in the cage to fight an MMA fight on their second lesson because they haven't built the skills and the confidence. Same with this. Just build the skills and confidence over a period of time and keep it private. And then when you're ready, let everyone know and then take it forward.
So going forward, Matt, what's next for yourself? Do you have anything in the pipeline or at all?
Always. I've got loads of things in the pipeline. I've been in lockdown, which means obviously I can't film content for Mittmaster because I usually do stuff with a partner. So I've got to spend a bit of time now catching up. So I've got lots of products that I'm creating for Mittmaster to help martial arts instructors around the world. With Teacher Passion Online, I'm trying to build I have a Facebook group called Teacher Passion Online if you want to check it out. And it's got about 650 members at the point. I'm just trying to build a nice little group of people who are all supporting each other, sharing tips, sharing ideas, giving value. Because I think that really helps when you're starting this journey. You kind of feel a bit isolated and a bit like I don't know what to do. And what's happened with this group, which I set up during lockdown, is people are now posting a question like, how do I edit this video? And someone's jumping in and saying, you can use this. This works really well. I've tried it. It's really easy. Thanks. So it's kind of really nice. It's got this nice vibe about it. Everyone's helping each other. Everyone's in there to support. So I'm going to build that up a little bit more, create lots more online courses. Hopefully when lockdown ends, I can start traveling and teaching workshops again, because that's where I get my people fix.
Yeah.
Going to a school, teaching a seminar, having fun, joking and interacting with people, and then going back. I love teaching, but I love to teach when I want to teach, not when I have to teach. So one of the things that was killing me near the end of my school was I was, maybe I wasn't in the best frame of mind. Obviously I wasn't, but I'd be like sat in the car before class going like psyching myself up to go in and teach. And then you know, if you're at that point where you're trying to get yourself in the headspace to go and teach, you're probably either burnt out or you fell out of love with what you're doing, or whatever. So now that I've stopped doing that regularly, I now just book in seminars. So I'll do maybe 2 or 3 seminars a month, and I get that buzz of teaching in front of a crowd. And teaching seminars is always much more fun than teaching classes, because when you're in classes, your students take you for granted, which we all know. Some of them are not concentrating. Some of them don't want to be there, but they're only there because their parents have forced them, or because, you know, they're paying their money and they feel like they have to be there. And you're in the same environment. Whereas when you do a seminar, everyone wants to be there because they paid to be there. Everyone's excited and actually paying attention to what you're saying because you're new and you're novel. And it's a different environment. You get to hang out with different people. It's exciting. So now I just teach these workshops, Mittmaster seminars around the country, and it's fun. It's back to just having fun, you know, rather than having a business that, yeah. So I'll do more seminars. I'll help people through my online courses and do what I can.
And how do people get in touch with you if they're needing help to take a business online, or even for some of the Mittmaster series?
If they go to mittmaster.com, that's where my Mittmaster stuff is. And if you go to teachyourpassiononline.co.uk or search Facebook for Teach Your Passion Online for a group, you'll find the group there. It's a free group, so join in and jump in and have a chat. Or if you just kind of search out Matthew Chapman online, you should find me in some sort of way. I'm the guy with the bald head, probably holding pads or something like that. You can track me down. But yeah, if any of your listeners and fans want to have a chat with me about setting up online stuff or even pad stuff, I'm willing to help.
Hello?
An opportunity for people who are what they do to help more people and to share the message with more people, to help more people. And as a side of doing that, helping more people, sharing more people, you also make more money yourself, because when you help people, you tend to get rewarded. And so I think it's just a good thing for everyone to do who has a passion. So yeah, just reach out and I'll give you a hand.
Yeah, no, that's great. Matt, thank you very much for coming on today. And I know I'll include the links to your websites and everything in
Thank you.
the comment box below. So thank you, and I appreciate you coming on, because you're always somebody I wanted to have on, because I think the material you put out there, I think Bob Breen said the same thing. The material you put out there is very clear. It's not all like smoke and mirrors, and it's very straight. This is how you do it. I'll help you. This is what you need to do. And I think that's what's needed in the vast world of online business building.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on and sharing your knowledge. So thank you.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure. It's been nice chatting with you.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Cheers.